Hey everyone, thanks for being here. We're really excited about what we accomplished in free agency, the direction our roster is headed. We think that the players who we acquired are going to add to the culture of competition that Coach Canales has created. We're looking forward to the draft, obviously, but for now with free agency, we're just super excited about these players who we got. Just a couple of shout outs here. It was a great organizational effort from everybody, from the coaches to the scouting staff to our support staff. I'm very thankful to have somebody like Justin Davidoff, who helped me with contract research and just understanding what these markets are going to look like. Claire Stokes, who was incredible with making sure the trains run on time and all the logistics of bringing all these players in and getting them in and out on time. And then our pro scouting staff of Lee McNeil, Justin Burris, and Adam Maxey. They did a lot of work on the front end to help us understand what's going on around the league as far as where players are from a talent standpoint, what players could be available, things like that. So anyways, and then of course we had great leadership with Dan and Coach Canales, so we could execute their vision. So with that, take any questions you guys have on free agency.
All right, we will kick it off with Darren and then go to Mike K, followed by Alex.
Brandt, when you guys are working in the kind of volume you guys were working in the other week, how do you sort of take the emotional aspect of all those negotiations happening at once out of play and kind of stick to an absolute value on certain things?
Yeah. We do take the emotion out of the free agency room when we're making the decision, because we're able to have a very good collaborative and honest dialogue as an entire organization beforehand. So what you see with what we execute takes a lot of work, a lot of discussion, and by the time it comes time to make the actual decision, we can do it unemotionally.
Is that hard from the standpoint of when you're in an active negotiation with somebody that you obviously have interest in, to be able to kind of pull back and say, no, not right now?
Yeah, of course. It's hard to walk away from a deal. But at the same time, when we have a clear vision of what we want, and we have standards as far as value and things like that, it's easier to walk away, and also it's easy to make those decisions when we have the support of leadership, which is what we've got here.
Hey, Brandt. How's it going?
Hey, Mike.
Hey, so as far as like a lot of your contracts go, whether they were re-signings or signings, they're all very heavily incentive-based, at least based on our reporting or reporting elsewhere. Obviously, incentive-based contracts aren't a new thing, but how did you guys establish your philosophy towards that kind of understanding, both sides need this to work out in order to accomplish the end goal for both sides?
So with the incentives, what we try to do with the incentives is, okay, here's the base of the contract, whatever it is, and this is what we expect out of that base level compensation. The incentives are, if he exceeds what we're expecting, then we're going to be willing to pay for it to an extent. So it was a give and take, and some of it was also just the market. So understanding that in free agency, hey, this player has this offer that includes incentives like this. If we want to acquire this player, we're going to have to go there.
And then you had a couple of safeties in for visits earlier this week. Obviously, you're probably not going to want to talk about an open negotiation, but what do you guys look to get out of those visits from your perspective, whether it means signing a guy or not signing a guy?
Yeah, just how they fit with our coaching staff and just getting to know the person a little bit better. At this point in free agency, players are signing for opportunities, so let's all make sure that we all agree on what this opportunity looks like.
Hello, Brandt.
Hey, Alex.
Hey, man. There were reports during at the beginning of the legal tampering period that y'all were in on a deal with Milton Williams. It ultimately fell through, but I'm curious to see how you reflect on that. And is there any part of you that, after you look at the huge contract that Milton got, it kind of presented itself as an opportunity? Okay, we didn't get him, but we got this opportunity to fill so many other holes with that money that we would have spent on him.
Yeah, so in free agency, things tend to move fast, and so we have scenarios planned out ahead of time as far as acquiring this group of players, that group of players. So when the Milton thing didn't go our way, we were just following a plan, and even during the what do you want, if you want to call it a frenzy, whatever it was, we never felt like we had an agreement with Milton. Like his agent never gave us that indication. So we were just operating our plan, and we were going through our process and talking to all the different players and just trying to take the resources that we had and put them to the most optimal use.
Got it. And then I wanted to talk about another defensive lineman, Turk Wharton. You have experience with him in the Kansas City organization. Just simply put, what do you see in him? And do you have any cool Turk stories?
Yeah. So as far as a cool Turk story goes, Turk went to Missouri Science and Tech, which was a small school in Missouri, and we signed him in Kansas City during the COVID year. So there was no preseason, there was no visibility into what was going on our practice fields, and so before training camp even started, we said to ourselves, okay, like if any of these free agents really show out well in camp, like we could probably get them through to the practice squad. They're unlikely to be claimed because nobody knows if they exist. And Turk was so good in camp. I mean, he was so clearly one of our best players that we couldn't do it to the rest of our roster and have any like semblance of credibility with our team if Turk didn't make our 53. And so that's just the kind of person and player he is, that he went in, he did the work, he performed. So that was exciting. But as far as what we saw here, Dan and Coach Canales can speak to all of the football evaluative pieces of it. All I know is that when I have our pro scouts coming into my office during the season asking me about Turk and what's he like and what do I think he's worth and things like that, and then after the season, I got Dom Capers and Todd Wash coming into my office asking me about Turk, and I got EJ stopping me in the hall asking me about Turk. It's very clear that there was a lot of love for him and a lot of excitement about him.
Wonderful. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
All right, we have time for a couple more. We'll go to Joe Person, followed by Mike Kay and Phil Orban.
Hey, excuse me. Hey, Brandt, thanks for doing this.
Hey, Joe.
I jumped on late. Apologies if you addressed this, but a number of your contracts were set up where that third year there's not guaranteed money. How much of that was with an eye on, possibly reaching that stage with Bryce's contract where, you're going to be extending him around that time?
The contracts that we did, we didn't think too much about Bryce and where he is. I think that's still TBD. I mean, we're super excited about Bryce, but for us, it was just about doing market deals. So the length of the deals were whatever they were, and the guarantees were whatever they were based on what the market was dictating. And so typically with 3-year deals, you'll have the first year and a half, 2 years, depending on the size of the deal and the quality of the player, that are going to be guaranteed, and then the third year is almost never guaranteed. So we were just going to the market on that one.
Did you address earlier JC's negotiations?
No.
Curious how those went with David's his guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How did that go? And it was obviously a big contract. What sort of appetite? Clearly, y'all did the deal, so you had the appetite. But were there any reservations about going as high as you did?
We are extremely excited to have JC under contract. I won't get into the specifics of the negotiation, but from our perspective, we just really wanted to get the deal done before free agency, so we knew where we stood from a cap perspective, and we could spend our money appropriately. And then, as far as like the decision of extending or not extending JC, we got to a point internally where we said, okay, here's a player who worked his tail off to be healthy for most of the season, got a little unlucky towards the end, was able to play in the Pro Bowl, and how do we want to go about this? Like, this is a core player for us. Are we going to bet on JC or bet against him? And so we elected to bet on him, and we're extremely excited to have him here for the next 5 years.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Brandt, from a wide receiver perspective, we're seeing kind of the market explode, obviously. T. Higgins getting a lot of money, then Stephon Diggs getting 3 years, 69, obviously being reported that way. I'm curious how you, as the guy who has to look at all the timelines with Dan, looks at the money allotted to that position in free agency and trades and all that stuff, balances that with the value of wide receivers in the draft and having 9 picks.
Yeah. It's hard. It's hard to answer with specifically receivers. The thing that Dan and Coach Canales and I talk about a lot is just adding impact players to our roster and paying them accordingly. So regardless of position, like we're looking to add really good football players who make an impact on the game, on our team, on our culture, on our community, all of those things. And so if it happens to be a receiver, then great. If it happens to be a safety, then great. Like whoever it is, we're going to be interested in acquiring them.
Hey, Brandt.
Hey.
You'd mentioned the value of the collaboration between the three of you, yourself, Dan, and Dave, and you also talked about the emotion of this period. And I'm curious how important that collaboration, that communication is between the three of you to keep that emotion out of it, especially in your role with that sort of eye on the numbers and down the road.
Yeah, it's critical, and it's built on trust, and it's built on respect and communication. We have all three of those things together. All three of us do, and I'm very fortunate that they let me in, at that level because, there are organizations who do operate a little differently than that, and I think it helps us make really good decisions. And, I just can't speak highly of both of them as leaders and people.
Thank you.
All right, we have time for one more, so we will finish off with Jeff Hawkins.
Greetings. This is Jeff Hawkins from the Charlotte Post. I was just wondering if you could address the salary cap situation for the remainder of this offseason, but more importantly, where it stands next year and the year after. Thanks very much.
Yeah. Hey, Jeff. So right now we have a little bit of room to spend. Not a lot. So, I think we're going to be very intentional with how we spend our money here going forward. Not that we weren't before, but, I don't think you'll be seeing us bringing in 5-10 guys a week. And, as far as next year and the year after goes, we have a lot of flexibility. I don't know where the numbers exactly stand, but we're pretty excited about the ability to keep our core players, to add others, and just continue to build this thing.
All right, thank you so much for taking the time, Brandt. Appreciate
Thanks,
you.
everyone.